There's something we say in Igbo language. We say onyo mera marana. Onyo mera marana. You see, you can't beat experience. The taste of experience. It's difficult to wash that taste out of your mouth.
My wife has houses, businesses, and I know nothing about them.
Wow. How long have you been married?
For the past 3 years, we've been living together. Yet, she has so many secrets. Some few days ago, I asked my wife to save a particular number for me of one of my clients because my phone was dead at that time. And then I tried retrieving that number
From her phone?
from her phone. Yeah. And then a text came into the phone, and that was our caretaker. My wife has 3 houses,
Wow.
4 supermarkets, and just to name few other properties that I know nothing about.
Wow.
Even when we were struggling, we had no money, we had no place to stay.
Good.
My wife made up the story that he got us an apartment where he has negotiated with the landlord for us to pay gradually. I fell into that without knowing that house, that particular house, is owned by my wife, and I've been paying rent for the past 5 years.
I gotta tell you that when I saw this video, I was very triggered. I was triggered because I know very, very close to heart stories about people and situations that this has also played out. I'm talking about people who are very close to me, and it has been very ugly. Now, when you hear stories like this, context really matters. I say that because you cannot talk about all the different contexts that applies in different relationships. But let's deal with this particular issue head on based on the context that she is speaking about. The first time she spoke, when the husband made that complaint, the first thing that came to my mind were either of two things. Either there's been a history of what I like to call financial infidelity on his part, or emotional infidelity, or that she herself has had something in her past, in her upbringing, that has led her to behave in such a manner. So I was not surprised when I found out what the actual reason was.
But I'm coming from a really, really bad place.
Okay.
When I was a child, I witnessed my mom striving to make my dad who he is. She did everything humanly possible to see that my father succeeded. She was best and strongest and wisest when it came to business. And so automatically, my father's businesses soared. She had everything. And then, what happened? My mom fell ill. Everything that my mother had was not in her name. It was in my father's name. Wow. All my father needed to do was to release money to take care of my mother. And what did he do? He kicked my mother out of the house, threw her to the village. My mom, with all her sweat, died as a pauper. Died wretched. She couldn't even get medical attention. Wow. It will never happen to me.
Truly speaking, I have to tell you that I know someone now who, an experience that a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine had. She had met this guy. They were dating, and they were talking towards marriage, and she felt like, okay, she wanted to be honest with him, and she was going to tell him about a piece of property that she had acquired. It was 2 plots of land, and her lawyer had already made a forecast of how much it would take to build a building of her choice. It was going to be commercial. So it was going to be designed in 2 ways. Part of it was going to be commercial, and part of it was going to be personal, where she hoped to live. And then she shared this with this guy, and she showed him the budget forecast and what it would cost, and he just blew his socket. Why would you buy something like that as a woman? And she was like, excuse me? Why would you buy something like that as a woman? Why are you going to spend this kind of money? 2 plots, you can't buy 1. Why are you buying 2? No. Why don't you sell 1 and then use the money to build the property? Why must it be 2? Oh, la. And she was like, hang on. I didn't ask you for a loan or to give me money. I am simply sharing this bit of information with you because I would not want it to be said, just like this lady now, who had hid it from her husband. I did not want it to be said that, a relationship without trust. What kind of relationship is that? If the foundation of the relationship is lacking of trust, then what are we doing here? So I wanted to be upfront with you and tell you that this is what is going on. I'm not asking you to give me money. I'm just telling you that this is what is going on in my life so that you know, because I wouldn't want, since we're already talking about marriage and all that, so I wanted you to be aware of what was happening. And then I cannot tell you how rocky that relationship ended up being. It was almost as if because he was not stabilized enough. This guy was living abroad. It was like it was Nigeria or stuff like that. He was living abroad. So it was almost like, I haven't achieved that yet. How dare you achieve that? So it was almost, I think there was a level of inferiority complex that started to creep in, and competition or some sort. And she's like, what is this? It got so ugly that he said, okay, you're building. And she went ahead and did what she was going to do. She didn't let that stop her. She, started to, because after she got the budget for cash, she waited for a while to put up some cash together so that when she really started, she was really going to start. I said, hey, you're stubborn. I know you're going to do this stuff. And then he said, why don't you wait until you are married, so that you can do it under a man's house, that you know you're doing it as a married woman. And she's like, what does it matter whether I do it as a woman? I'm not going to be waiting until I'm married before I start something that I know that I want to do. And there's inflationary prices can hit certain, and something you had forecasted that would cost you maybe $50 or 50 naira can end up costing you 100 just because you delayed. Why would I delay? And then it moved from that to calling and actually saying, for you to prove that you love me, why don't you put my name on the document of that house? This is someone who hadn't even paid the dowry yet. They haven't done anything. He was just intending to. And so, you can say, oh, she should have trusted, or she should have said, or she should have done. But there are nasty stories. There's something we say in Igbo language. We say, Onyo mera marana. Onyo mera marana. That means the person who something has happened to, the person who has an experience. You can't beat experience. The taste of experience. It's difficult to wash that taste out of your mouth. Very difficult to wash that taste out of your mouth. So when she shared her own personal experience to say, look, this happened to my mother, you can't beat that. I know someone again who's very close to me who would give, like, I've received my salary, okay, let's do this. You bring the money, you give your husband, this is how much I earn. The same man who was always being physical with her, telling her not to go to work, that she should stay home, be a housewife. Nah. She refused. And then even when she would take money and give him, see, people who are narcissistic, I'm not going to say narcissists, but who are narcissistic, the one thing they want to remove from you is your sense of security. And there's nothing that's quite as powerful in terms of giving anyone, any human being on earth, a sense of security as much as having been financially independent. And so the first thing that anyone who has a narcissistic tendency will want to do is to remove your source of financial independence so that they can squeeze you, so you will not have options and choices, because that's what financial independence gives you. It gives you the ability to make a choice. Yes. She would still go to work. She would take the money. She would give him to invest in his business. And on top of that, he was still having affairs outside. Yes. So imagine if this woman who was working, earning, still giving you the money to invest in your business, and so that we can grow, and it's for the benefit of the family, and you're still cheating. Imagine if you didn't have the resources, what that would be like. Then on top of that, while she was working, she had opportunity. You know how when you're working in the bank, there are these, property landowners who will come and say, oh, we have this property we want to sell. And if you know Nigeria very well and you know Lagos very well, Ikoyi, back in those days when it was still a lot of bush and not developed, one of the families had come to the bank and told her about the property that was available. She took money, her own money, and gave her husband and said, look dear, I think it's wise for us to have a property. She gave him to go and buy property, landed property, a piece of land, in Ikoyi. He never did. He squandered that money. They would have been property owners in Ikoyi today. Look at how much. I don't even know if you can find land in Ikoyi. You see, who you marry, hey, I cannot even begin to tell you. Who you marry can push you and propel you forward, and who you marry can pull you backwards. So I totally understand why she did what she did, even though I do not consent to the fact that she had asked him to, place the rent. I don't know what kind of lie she would have been able to tell in that regard, but I can understand and I can empathize with why she did what she did. It's not him. When things like this happen, the person who's on the receiving end, at least there was no issues of infidelity. There was no issues of disrespect. It was just on the fact that, oh, you didn't tell me you had something like this. And on top of that, okay, charging him for the rent, which I honestly don't even know the kind of lie she would have told for that property to say, let's not pay. I don't know how she would have done that. But however, it is very, very difficult. What he should have done to show the level of emotional maturity and because the only way you can deal with stuff like this is not to do the thing that the person is scared that you might likely do, because his reaction would put more fear in her. What he should have done, hindsight is 50-50, what he should have done in that situation is to say, oh dear, I am not angry with you that you had property. Would I have wanted you to tell me? Absolutely. I'm saddened that I thought we had something that you could see me as someone that you could trust, and it saddens me that you're not able to trust me. I want to earn your trust. You know what? Keep the property in your name. It doesn't matter whose name it is, because I know that at the end of the day, the persons who is going to benefit is going to be for the children. But we need to work on these trust issues. If he had done that, oh my God, we would have been in a different situation than where we are right now. But look, let's not kid ourselves. The perfect scenario would have been that they wouldn't have. I've told you a story where somebody approached it on the other side and how it would have ended. So an ideal situation would have been the story I shared with you about my friend who told the guy who she was dating that this is what's up and all of that. That's the ideal situation. But there have been ugly experiences and it hasn't always worked out. So what do? Take a chance? Can you come out of that? Can you really come out of it if you take that chance? So let's wisdom the guy. For me, that's what I think. I don't know what you think, because let's not forget that this is happening in Nigeria. And in Nigeria, there is no court of law, really. I mean, that idea of, like abroad, where you have issues with your wife and she leaves, and, because both of you kind of build the wealth together, you split 50-50. A lot of times when women are married into homes in Nigeria, the man is working. If the woman is lucky to be working, then she must contribute to the establishment of that home, help out here and there and there. But if adventure anything happens tomorrow and that marriage dissolves and they have to go their separate ways, who moves out of that house? Who? The woman. Regardless of whatever it is that she had put into that house, she loses out. The system is completely different. Let's not kid ourselves here. The system is completely different. If she were to have issues, he would send her out of that house. Yeah. Sometimes they even send you out with your children. And before you say Jack Robinson, and the woman is another woman is there. So the system is very different. The system to protect women is little or non-existent. And so sometimes you see some people are taking extra measures. You know, I mean, all of us, of course, when you get married, you want it to work out, you want it to be well and all of that. But you see, money has a spirit. Yes, money has a spirit, and I don't know, especially when it's the woman who has it more than the man. It's really very difficult. Some people say, but if you are humble and if you're this, let's leave, and that's another video. All right, let me know what you think. That's my 2 cents. I might be right, I might be wrong, but that's my 2 cents. Cheers. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.